Good morning. Knowledge is nothing more than raw facts, but wisdom is the ability to see people, events, and situations as God sees them. Written by King Solomon around 900 BC, the book of Proverbs is the greatest how-to book ever written. There is an undeniable practicality found in this book for sound and sensible answers to all manner of complex difficulties are found within its 31 chapters. There is no particular plot or storyline found in its pages. Likewise, there are no principal characters in this book. It is wisdom that takes center stage, a grand divine wisdom that transcends the whole of history, peoples, and cultures. In the book of Proverbs, Solomon reveals the mind of God in matters high and lofty, and in common, ordinary, everyday situations too. It appears that no topic escaped King Solomon's attention. Matters pertaining to personal conduct, sexual relations, business, wealth, charity, ambition, discipline, debt, child rearing, character, alcohol, politics, revenge, and godliness are among the topics covered in this rich collection of wise sayings. It may help to know that at this time in his life, King Solomon did not just speak about wisdom, he actually practiced it and showed that it works. During his reign as king, the nation of Israel reached its pinnacle spiritually, politically, and culturally, as well as economically. And the sayings of the wise King Solomon are as relevant today as they were some 3,000 years ago. Right away, King Solomon tells us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And I'll have to confess, I used to get kind of hung up on that phrase, the fear of the Lord. Sure, I knew it was important that a healthy fear of God, of a God of justice, was important, but then I learned that the meaning of that phrase includes more than just a healthy fear of God. It includes the idea of worshipful submission, reverential awe, and obedient respect to a covenant-keeping God. And that means that the wisest thing I can do in my life personally is to obey God's commands out of a place of deep respect, and that submitting to his ways is an act of worship on my part. So recently I read one of the Proverbs a day and tried to really just let it sink in what I was reading. And so I wrote down just a few things that I learned, my takeaway from the book of Proverbs. I learned that I want to be deliberate or purposeful in seeking wisdom, combining knowledge with understanding, learning to see people, events, and situations as God sees them. I learned that in order to gain wisdom, I must be teachable. I learned that I don't want to be a fool. I learned that I want to have God's word in my heart and not just my head. I learned that nagging women are no fun to be around. That men would literally rather give up the comforts of life than to be forced to live with a nagging woman. I learned how very important my words are, to guard my lips. It's said many, many times and in different ways, over and over again. And I learned that I want to live according to life principles instead of death principles. So the recurring promise of the book of Proverbs is that those who choose wisdom and follow God will be blessed in numerous ways. Those who have the good sense to take Solomon's lessons to heart will quickly discover that godliness, prosperity, and contentment are theirs for the asking. But to choose folly over wisdom is to reject God and separate ourselves from God, his word, his wisdom, and his blessings. And I want to choose wisdom.